I'm having a bad hair day. I need a haircut. Anyway, I was just thinking about God, as YouTube often makes me do, because there's so many people that, for whatever reason, think that I'm some sort of heathen because I'm a non-believer. Um, and I had to consider this God and try to imagine how someone would consider God to be a good thing, a loving, compassionate, caring entity. And I can't reconcile that. I cannot look at all the claims about God, all the writings about God from any religious perspective that refers to this Judeo-Christian or even the Muslim God, and consider this God to be anything less than evil incarnate. Well, I suppose it would only be incarnate if we could prove that it actually existed. But consider the notion that if you do not accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, that you will spend the rest of eternity suffering in hell. Imagine what it's like to suffer for an hour, and then to conceive that somebody could endure suffering for all eternity. Well, not all eternity, because we haven't existed for all eternity, but the rest of eternity. Is the rest of eternity any shorter than eternity? Anyway, that's another topic. I mean, imagine that you are a parent. And if you are a parent, imagine your children. Let's say that you have a 7-year-old child, boy or girl. And let's say you live in a society where the snail, your average garden variety snail, is sacred, absolutely sacred. And the law of the land is that anybody at all caught killing a snail would spend the rest of their lives in a pitch dark underground cell, completely naked, with nothing to eat for the rest of their lives but dog food and water. That's the punishment for killing a snail. You spend the rest of your life in the dark, in a cell, with maybe a cot to sleep on, no clothes, with nothing to eat but dog food and water for the rest of your natural life. No human contact, in the dark, naked, the rest of your life. Now imagine that your child is out in front of your house after a rain, or in the morning when the snails are out. Well, I don't know. I don't know the patterns of snails, but your kid is out in the front yard and sees a snail on the sidewalk and stomps on it, crushes it, kills it. And somebody on the sidewalk who happens to be going for a walk at the time witnesses this, calls the authorities on your 7-year-old child, and your 7-year-old child is thus whisked away to some undisclosed, underground, pitch dark cell with no clothes, with nothing to eat but dog food and water for the rest of his or her natural life. How? No, let's say that was you who witnessed it, called the authorities, and sent your child away. It's you who witnessed it. It's you who said, my child has committed the sacrilegious act of killing the sacred snail. And you sent your own child to be in the dark, naked, with nothing to eat but dog food and water for the rest of its natural life. Imagine you are the ruler of this land who set these rules down, who said who wrote into the law that people must suffer this consequence for killing snails? Your own child. You witness killing a snail and sent to suffer this punishment for killing a snail. How could you spend the rest of your natural life from day to day knowing that your child will never see the light of day again, will never eat anything tasty or sweet, will never be warmly dressed or get to go shopping for clothes or whatever? Your child is in this dark cell, pitch black, can't see anything. And yet, God, who is supposedly the creator of all things, including us, could somehow, in his heart, live knowing that a single one of his children could spend the rest of eternity in unimaginable suffering. That would be one miserable God if he truly is compassionate and loving. And I wouldn't want to be around him, with him knowing that there are others suffering unimaginably for all eternity in hell. But to think that he could allow that, not much less command that, much less damn somebody to such a horrible prospect. This is not the domain of a loving, compassionate entity. If this God exists, it's not a God. It's a very, very evil entity, and it has nothing to do with who or what created us. Sorry, it just doesn't compute, doesn't add up, doesn't work, and I don't accept it. You shouldn't either. Think! Think! Please!